week's episode of The Voice Party is brought to you by Big Boy Raps. Get your car wrapped by some of the most experienced and skilled in the Bay. Big Boy Raps, where the big boys play.
Ladies and gentlemen, listeners all around the world, especially in Canada.
Wow.
Welcome to Ireland. Ireland now, too.
Yes, sir.
Well, stroke me clover. Welcome to the Voice Party. All right, we got Leslie, we got JD, we got Phil on the boards.
What's up, guys?
Hitting all the buttons. Okay.
We're all weirded out today, man. You're sitting there, I'm sitting here.
It's topsy-turvy.
It's like, what's going on?
Well, you know, in an interesting flip side, we're going to be interviewing you a bit today.
Yeah, not really.
At some point.
Not yet.
Right now, we're riffing.
I changed my mind. I don't want to talk about it.
You want to pull that mic towards you, though, JD?
Oh,
it's not a voice party episode unless Phil is reminding one of us to please pull the doggone mic towards our faces.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, you got to be right up on these some bitches. Otherwise, it sounds like you in another room.
Okay. Which is another podcast being recorded in the other room now.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently.
Voice of the party.
Voice of the party, whoever came
soon.
up with that stupid name. Anyways, so yeah, what's up, guys?
Well, I
haven't seen you in a whole week.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, right? Like so much can happen.
A lot.
In a week.
Yeah. A beanie, different shirt, different hat.
Same shirt.
Same shirt. Same shirt.
Same shirt. Different. Hey, I like your shirt, though.
Hey, thank you, man. It's
the Deftones.
Yeah. Dude, I met them.
Really?
I've talked about this before, but I want to keep talking about it because it's like I'm counting down to the anniversary of the 2 years since I met them. And they kind of hinted at where they hang out in Sacramento because they're a Sacramento band. You familiar with the Deftones?
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I met the drummer. It's fucking cool the way it happened because I went to go see Iron Maiden, and then I'm walking down at the what's it called that arena in Sacramento. It's something after a bank.
Chase.
No, that's San Francisco. No,
oh, right.
No, the one that used to be the Arco Arena.
Ah, okay.
Checks something. I forgot.
Center? No,
Check Center. But anyways, they were there, and they're not like big celebrities, but not like Jay-Z level, whatever. But they were there with their friends, and I had to be that fucking weird guy. Oh my god, I'm such a fan.
This is after.
No, this is before the concert. So I went and I saw the guy that does the mixing, the DJ guy, whatever. And I went up to him and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a big fan, man." He's like, "Oh, thanks, man." And I was like, we this is before COVID, the handshake and then the hug, the bro, the masculinity, hello.
Yeah,
got in there.
Yeah, get in there. and then he was like, "Where you from?" And I was like, "Oh my god, he's talking to me still." And I was like about to flash.
Are we going to engage in a conversation?
I was about to flash, but he's like, I want to keep talking. Like, oh, okay, hold on, all right. and then I told him I'm from Richmond, and he's like, well, why aren't you just gonna go see Iron Maiden tomorrow? Something's happening in my audio.
It's going in and out.
Let me figure out what's going. It could be the compressor.
The story's so exciting, dude, that can't keep up.
The compressor's just like trying to contain it all.
No, but he asked me like, how come you're not going to the what was it? The
Iron Maiden,
because they had the show next day in Oakland, and I was like, I got free tickets. I'm like, why are we talking about this? I'm a huge fan. like when
he's always being practical with you.
Yeah, I had questions for him. And then I was like, can we take a picture? Like, yeah. And then I saw the drummer, who is one of my favorite drummers. They were the only two, not the whole band, but it was like, you think he'd be cool if I go talk to him? He's like, yeah, go fuck with him. I'm like, okay, cool. So then we hung out, him and the other guy, and then we started talking about like our favorite drummers in the past. And I told him, I'm a big fan, and I told him about comedy. I don't know why. I started talking about comedy.
Didn't you tell me like you lied and told him White Pony was your favorite album, even though it's Saturday Night Wrist?
Well, no, the other one,
Around the Fur.
Around the Fur is my favorite.
I do love Around the Fur,
but because the drumming's dope, I didn't lie.
You didn't lie.
I didn't lie. The drumming in White Pony is dope.
Yeah,
it's better.
So I was like, well, there's more like he does different shit. So anyways. So and he was like, "Oh, thanks, yeah." And then we, I went to go sit down, and they were there drinking. It never occurred to me to like, let me buy you guys a beer, because they were that like cool with me at the moment. And I was just starstruck. I didn't think. I was walking around like, let's go see the show. Fuck it, I don't care what happens anymore. We get done with the show. We're walking out. And me and my friend are walking towards the front end, exit, and then we see them there in like a little circle. And then the drummer, Abe, he turns around, JD, and then I'm like, dude, that was like the best feeling ever. He remembered my name.
And he was like, happy to see you.
And he was like, yeah. And then he was like, and then we talked, and we were talking about Iron Maiden, and I was just like, I love you. I didn't say that. You
thought it, though.
I thought it. Because he was so cool, and I told him, like, if I ever get booked at the Sacramento Punchline, I want you to come. He's like, yeah, we always hang out at this bar. I don't want to say what bar, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I keep that in mind. Fucking stalker. We were talking about stalking earlier.
Yeah, you're good at it.
I'm a lazy stalker. I haven't gone. But yeah. And then I got the shirt. Long story short. I saw the shirt was on sale.
They should have given you a shirt.
Huh?
They should have given you a shirt.
Well, they didn't have anything. I was.
Should be like, hook this guy up.
I did tell them the last 3 concerts that I went to, like before that one, was all them. I went to see them 3 times in a row in 1 year, and they were like, "Oh, dang!" And then I'm gonna go see them again this year. So.
All right.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool, man.
That's gonna be like your first concert post-pandemic.
Yeah. And my first comedy show is coming up this year too, and it's weird, like all this shit. Have you guys been to a show or anything like that since the pandemic?
No.
Any event, like a car show, anything?
No, not quite. But my homegirls and me got some Bad Bunny tickets.
Damn, how much was that?
Well, they got like I don't know total, but my ticket was at least $150, so I'm surprised about that. I was like, how high are we? How high up there are we? But
where is it? Chase Center?
I think in San Jose, yeah.
Oh, San Jose.
Yeah, I think it's San Jose. The Pavilion?
Pavilion, HP Pavilion?
Yeah, I have no. Yeah,
something like that,
maybe.
yeah.
Bad Bunny has got to be the greatest entertainer to have not been a pro wrestler to become a pro wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's the first one that I know of, because he's not the first entertainer to be in the ring and do stuff like Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman and WCW back in the day were pretty decent, but none of them had the acrobatic skill or the timing to hit a Canadian fucking destroyer.
Is that what he did?
Yes. Like the flipping.
So he's a fan of WWE.
Yeah.
He is, huh?
Like,
oh wow.
Like the flipping pile driver thing that he did, like that. I'm understood that's a risky move. That
wait. So he did more than one move?
Yes.
Oh wow.
There was a tornado.
He's the
DDT.
WWE 24/7 champion, and he brought the belt with him to Saturday Night Live.
Oh dang.
I mean, I'm just saying, this is the first celebrity to go into wrestling and actually be good. Like, really good.
Oh,
like, Karl Malone was basic. Like, anybody can hit a freaking diamond cutter, okay?
Yeah.
But to be that astounding, I may not understand, like, the rap lyrics that he says.
What about Snoop? I'm just kidding. Wait, how big is Bad Bunny right now? Like, is he the biggest artist in the world?
I mean, I like his music and I listen to him. I'm not like a super. I'm like
I don't know much about him though. Like,
yeah,
you know
I don't
more
either.
than me.
I'm just like, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
I'm here for the ride.
Oh yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know he's like big fucking deal. Like I'm so like out of touch with music now. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the fuck is like popular. I'm like out here discovering old reggae bands that are lost in time and like, oh yeah, and I don't know what the fuck is popular right now. Like, well, I thought Kanye was still like the biggest hip hop artist.
I mean, he's big. He's the wealthiest, I think. Him and Jay.
He's not talked about like right now. Yeah. Like, there's no music that he's making.
And then when
right
they
now.
do,
I mean, the
like
last
all the
record,
drama aspect of it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like hype over something that's not even the music.
Because the last record he put out was like Jesus is King. That got panned.
Oh yeah, we talked about that before. The comedian dude said that's the second worst thing to happen to Jesus.
I will say this though. The one thing, I don't know if I said this then, but I'll say it now. The one thing that I will give that album a pass for is Kanye figured out a way to reunite the Clips.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, you got Malice and all right, you brought Malice back.
I thought they were in jail or one of
No, like the
because
Malice turned into a born again Christian, and so I think he's been doing Christian rap or stopped altogether.
He kept the name.
And the other guy, and the other guy. And I'm embarrassed that I don't remember his name right now because he's one of the best lyricists from that era running still. Signed under Kanye's label as a solo artist and has been hitting hot album run after hot album run. Like, I don't know what his sales are doing, but he's dropped some like critically acclaimed records. Like Daytona, the Daytona record that he dropped a couple years ago, smashing. And it's killing me that his name is escaping me. But so people listening know.
Who in Bad Bunny, what is he considered? I mean, I'm asking you. I know you say you don't know.
Oh my God.
Is he like reggaeton?
I mean, I feel
Latin,
like it's like
hip-hop?
trap. I don't know. Like, I've heard trap. I've heard like,
What's trap?
I don't know.
Trap is a southern form of rap with a particular cadence and like speed of the drums.
Describe
You've got the hi-hats.
Describe someone to me that is at
Early T.I.
Early T.I. Oh,
Gucci Mane.
okay.
They're all trap artists.
And that's I've never heard. I don't think I know T.I. for his music, bro. I know him more for his acting. So like, yeah,
It says a lot.
I know, right?
I think
I know some of his songs.
I think there are a handful of rappers that people probably know them more from their films than from their actual music, like Mos Def, right?
There's a lot of that in comedy too. Like a lot of people, I think I posted this a while back on the page. A lot of people don't know, like Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi. He was a stand-up comic in San Francisco.
I learned that from you.
Yeah,
I had no clue.
A lot of actors that you would not know they were comedians. Like what's his name? Batman. What's his name? Mr. Mom? Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton was a comedian.
I didn't know he was a stand-up comic first.
No wonder
Yeah.
people were like, "Really, you're
Yeah.
gonna get him to be Bruce Wayne?"
Exactly.
But comedians can act. you know?
Yeah. No,
Stage presence, man. It comes with the job.
It comes with the job. I got offered a role one time to play what's his name? Frida's husband, Diego
Oh,
Rivera.
really?
For some stage shit. I declined it because it was like 3 months of rehearsal, and 2 of the weekends that I needed to do rehearsal, I had booked shows, and I was like, I can't unless you're willing to let me slide that day here, you know, because the dudes it was like a show. It was about Frida, and they had already booked a couple of dudes to do it, but they were like dudes that went to school for acting. But they were getting nervous in front of crowds, and it was like we were like, we're gonna get a comedian because comedians are usually not stage fright. And I was like, fuck, that's I do, motherfucker, I get stage fright doing this.
Right.
But
Oh, my
anyways,
goodness.
but I feel like I could do it.
Okay.
But then he's like, we need you every weekend for like 3 months. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work. But he was like, I can see you doing it.
Yeah.
Because he gave me like a little thing to improvise. I'm like, okay, I forgot what it was.
Imagine where your acting career would be right now.
Nowhere. There was a
never know.
makeout scene too, which I was like, I don't know.
Should have done it.
No,
Just say you did it.
That's weird, dude. I
Like
think
someone
that's
you've
weird.
never met, or like really, right?
Or don't. Well, I would. Well, yeah, but I think like by the time the show happened, because the show was also for like a whole month. I'm pretty sure it would be like not as hard. It was like, oh, here, but it's just weird. And that's probably weirder than
Good
like
work.
doing a film. Yeah, because you got to do it for like a whole month.
Right. Oh, so
here
you
you go.
keep trying and trying
And
and
then
trying.
you fall in love, and you have feelings for this person, and you're just
And they're
acting,
on to the next job.
and then they're on to the next job. Who does she kiss in that gig? I want to be that. Imagine that shit. Like that's how. What's it called? Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. That's kind of how that shit started. I'm not saying I'm gonna fall in love with this fucking actress,
But
whoever
it
she
does
was.
happen, yeah.
It happens.
That chemistry can get real.
It can, and I mean that movie was shit, but it can be real. It's not like you're acting to a certain extent.
I heard a story about Golden Age Hollywood. They had one of those rom-coms, and the tension was so high, like the actor just like ran up in the actress's the dressing room or whatever, and they were making out. It was crazy. I can't remember. It was like one of those old black and white things that happened like in between.
Oh yeah,
takes.
I'm sure that happens more than we realize.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of acting, I don't know.
So back to music real quick.
Yeah.
The Dmx passed away.
Oh yeah,
recently. And one of the artists I follow on Instagram. You remember the guy, the producer we had on here? It was Nobi, right? Mm-hmm. Some time ago. So someone out of his group, Gmo, had said, "Man, I'm tired of these new generation kids making these whiny posts saying, oh, now everyone's a DMX fan all of a sudden." It's like, that's what happens when you're young and you don't know the history.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like DMX did so much for the culture. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And he has so many fucking hits.
Yes.
Even after he because, okay, this is the thing. This is going to sound fucked up. But I'm kind of surprised, DMX didn't die earlier.
Because of the addiction?
Yeah, that dude's been
fighting it off and on for a long time.
Right. Remember that time and I don't mean to emphasize the negativity or anything, because people usually do that when someone dies.
Yeah.
But I remember that time when he pulled over, he pretended to be a cop. You remember that?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't remember that.
You remember that?
But that sounds like a thing he'd do.
He impersonated a police officer, and someone was driving slow or something in front of him, and he pulled him over.
Oh my goodness!
This is when he was doing drugs and shit, and he had, he was doing a lot of movies. So he had just played a cop or something, so he knew what to do.
Oh, he did that research.
Yeah. And he was also doing a lot of shit. So I thought, I hated to see it because I'm a big fan of DMX, and I was like, he doesn't look good, Back then he was hella skinny and he was deep in the whatever the fuck he was doing, the coke or whatever. And honestly, I thought he wasn't going to last long after that. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's been doing bad for years. And then in the verses, he looked out of breath.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Did you see the verses? You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
No.
It was him versus Snoop Dogg.
Him versus Snoop Dogg. They did this thing where they go verse to verse.
Uh-huh.
And Snoop, it was it sounds fucked up. I shouldn't say it.
No, say it.
Well, it was marijuana versus everything else. Snoop. And that's how look, you do weed all your life or you do this.
Right.
And it was a perfect example.
I think with X, to be fair, it was mostly crack.
Crack? He did crack?
Oh, no, it was cocaine.
Cocaine and alcohol. No, fuck that. Alcohol, dude. That was his shit.
Well, he said in an interview.
But it was a perfect example of you smoke weed, and Snoop still sounds young. He's and then DMX was he has a different style, but it was you could hear it out of breath.
Yeah.
And, your body can only take so much.
Yeah, dude.
It's nuts.
It's sad though. It's sad. I'm not saying this to make fun of DMX.
No. I know. Much respect to the dog.
Drugs are fucking.
He said in an interview that somebody, when he was 14, someone had laced his weed with it was either coke or crack, one of the two. I don't remember. And he's been fighting ever since.
I saw that little snippet of that interview. Yeah.
Wait, say that again. He was what?
Someone slipped in something in his weed when he was 14 years old, and it was either crack or cocaine. I can't remember which one. But he's been fighting that demon ever since, off and on.
That's how it goes for a lot of people too, man.
And it's an interesting dichotomy, man. Ashanti, the R&B starlet, had shared a memory of him on Instagram and said that 10 years ago or so, 12 years ago, she was on a plane. Her and her people were on the plane, DMX and his people were on the plane, and I guess DMX was sitting not too far from her and looked over and saw her writing into her notepad. He was like, "Do you write your own songs?" And she was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Good." Because, in the music industry, if you write your own songs, you get more publishing.
Right.
And that's how she got into the business, actually. She was hanging around the Murder Inc. offices, and she was just writing and trying to pitch them songs. And then eventually one of her scratch vocal recordings where they, pitched artists, they listened to the version that she wrote with her voice on it. They were like, "Hey, how about we just dial this back and give this song to you and give you a deal," right? But anyway, DMX was just like, "That's good." So they get off the plane and he's like, "Hey, you want to pray with me?" So then he grabs her by the hand and they all hold hands, and she said he led them through the most heartfelt and passionate prayer that she had ever heard. And a friend of mine posted and said, kudos to DMX for showing that you can still be on the path to righteousness and still kind of lead people in positivity and spirituality and not be perfect.
Yeah.
That was an interesting insight.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's like the best thing that you can really say about his legacy. You listen to the albums, he's got these heartfelt prayers, his songs kind of like, you know, weave you.
He didn't make it cheesy.
Yeah.
When it comes to that whole prayer thing, that could, to me, I hate to say this, sometimes it makes it sound cheesy from certain rappers when they do it.
Right.
Unless you're like a full-time, like a full-on Christian rapper.
Right.
Where it can kind of sound, all right, yeah. And then I'm not saying anything bad against Christian rappers.
No, I know.
But there's sometimes it sounds cheesy.
Like inauthentic, right?
Yeah.
But from DMX, you felt like he was coming from, that man sounded like a pastor when he was praying.
And then his style with that kind of lyrics is like, I imagine like, you know, God, like, oh God, yes, I'm listening.
I mean, you know, there was nuance to him though.
Yes.
Because
oh,
he had lines where he would say like, I'm gonna pull the hammer on you. I don't want to though. I'm doing this because I have to. Don't make me shoot you.
He was on the verge of total like chaos, but he's like, you know, like, I'm gonna control myself because I gotta go to heaven. He's like,
right, you know, he represented that struggle that a lot of people
like
go
he's
through.
holding you by the throat or by the shirt, and he doesn't want to kill you. What the fuck is this? Oh shit. Okay, intruder.
Yes, indeed. We just had
drugs, regardless of whether you take them or you're around that shit, it fucks up your whole life, man.
Yeah,
I can tell you firsthand. Maybe not forever. But, you know, yeah, I've actually, it sucks because I've seen a friend like completely slip into madness from drugs, like close, you know. I think I've talked about it a little, and it's weird because like stuff happened. And I don't want to say his name, but stuff happened, and this isn't what I was mentioning earlier. This is totally different, but he was like a talented dude. And, you know, we did creative stuff together. And then I started seeing like the decline, you know, hey, I'm selling this. Hey, I'm you know, I'm living with a group of people in some house that like we broke into. And then he did stuff to fuck up our friendship because of the drugs, you know. And then I this is the craziest shit I ever heard from him. Hey, stop telling me to quit doing drugs. I was like, okay. Because he would ask me, I want to quit. But one day he snapped on me. He said, hey, quit telling me to stop doing drugs. I like being high. It feels better than anything, dude. So I'm never not going to want to be high. And I was like, all right, I'll never, ever again, you know. Because when he's sober, but then there was a point where he wasn't sober, and that's the shit. Hey, stop telling me to, you know. And it was like, okay, all right. And then I literally saw like his body change and his mentality change. And like, you know, the last couple of times we hung out, he did stuff that I was like, I can't be your friend no more. And now, according to him, I mean, I believe him. He's clean after months of jail and halfway house, whatever the hell, rehab centers. And it's weird because like, to kind of understand like what DMX maybe was going through, like regardless of how you apologize, because he talked about that in something, I forgot who it was. Something where you're in any kind of addiction centers, you have to work on apologizing to the people you hurt before. But even though like my buddy, he reached out. I'm bringing this up because he reached out to me recently. He wants to hang out. I'm like, nah. Like I'm glad you're changed, but I don't want you around at all. Like, you know, we could be friends. And there's no hostility. I don't have anything against you, but like, yeah, I want you to do well, but just stay away from me at this point.
And stay over there, yeah.
Yeah, there's no need for you to feel like you owe me anything. And regardless whether you do that shit still or not, maybe you're a better person now, but
I feel like I'm good.
I'm good. I don't need it.
He burned that bridge.
Burn that bridge. I love him. I don't want any harm to happen to him.
Right. This is a very healthy separation between the two of you.
And I told him, I wish you the best, man. I know we might see each other, but like, why? Why would I want, you know?
I think oftentimes too, that's something that we forget about in protecting our own space.
Yeah.
Like, and
big time.
Yeah. I think have come to terms with learning.
Yeah.
How to be able to say no. And that it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you
it's not like you're you're like, it's not against you.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's like a lot of the times I think that, you know, sometimes you feel guilty for saying no, or, you know, in that example, like, you know, maybe even feeling like you don't want to make that other person feel bad. So I feel like I've struggled with that, but we need to remember, you know, protect your space, protect your energy, because, you know, you got to keep yourself good before you can even, you know.
Yeah,
totally.
Of course.
It's enough to deal with your own bullshit, man. We talked about this episode about the anxiety, and a lot of that shit's caused by our own. I don't fucking need to add on to it from someone else's. Not that, you know, I'm not willing to if it's someone I love, but it's like, you know, there's like friends and family, and ultimately, if it's easy to cut off a toxic friend, it's not easy to cut off a toxic family member, but it is. If you have to, fuck it.
They live with.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, if you have to cut someone off, regardless of what they are now, anyone can say I'm different now. You know. I'm just like, nah, dude.
You're not different. You're the same.
No, and I hope he is.
But you don't want to take that risk.
I don't want to fucking take that risk.
Exactly.
And even if nothing ever happens, if it's just in my head, I still have those memories of why I don't want to hang out with you.
PTSD is real, even on a friendship level. I wouldn't say it may not be PTSD, but
it was to a certain extent, because a history with drugs that I have. Not that I have drugs myself, but like, you know, but like when someone's doing drugs, they're around people that are dangerous, dog.
Yeah.
And they're constantly going to them, you know, and the shit you don't see, like, and aside from that, people who are like in addictions, and it's crazy because you realize how like as you get older, you realize how much people really do drugs. Like, you would never imagine, like, what, this uncle does fucking heroin? Like, yeah. How do you think he gets through the night? Some people I have met can't sleep without being high on heroin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Due to some sort of horrendous injury?
That or some psychological trauma that's like haunted them for years. Kind of like, you know, especially that heroin is like one of the most addictive fucking things in the world. And that's why it's like, you know, in movies we see like what drug dealers are like. You think of like Scarface and all this bullshit. It's like, nah, it could be literally your next door neighbor who comes in his fucking Honda Civic. We had what's his name? Freeway Ricky Ross.
Yeah.
He used to dress like a homeless man, and he was like a millionaire. And that's there's
throw
more,
the cops off the scent.
Exactly. There's way more of that than there are, like, you know, the fucking Godfather, the Scarface type.
If you think about it, you know,
Yeah.
Scarface was set. What was it set in the 80s? Right?
He was based on a real drug. Like, that character was inspired by real mob. It's funny that his character was loosely based on like some gangster, some drug dealer from Bolivia, and also that the woman. You know, you ever heard of Graciela Blanco?
No.
She was a girl, the lady, the woman that she kind of started Pablo Escobar's drug. She was before Pablo Escobar.
Oh, wow.
She's from Colombia. She taught
started
him.
the network.
She taught him how to. And she built a pipeline from Colombia to New York, and it's crazy because I had someone in my life that was involved with drugs, and this is an interesting story. But there's a documentary about her. It's called Cocaine Cowboys. It's a crazy fucking documentary. She was ruthless, bro.
Interesting.
And that's kind of what inspired the character of Godfather. She was flashy. She was, you know, she had a hit list of dudes she wanted murdered, and like she one time had this guy ordered the murder of this guy, and they accidentally shot his 3-year-old kid, and she was like, fuck it, at least we got the kid. That's the kind of crazy fucking evil.
At least we got the kid.
So
what good does shooting a 3-year-old do you?
She went from in the documentary, if you watch it, like, you know, spoiler alert, she moved to the Bay Area at one point. Her and her sons were like running shit, you know,
like Ma Barker and her brood.
Right. Well, but she was fucking wealthy.
Oh yeah. Beyond.
They
Ma
were like
Barker,
they were partying with Michael Jackson and shit, dude.
Oh my
like,
God.
yeah. Yeah.
Jackson.
There's an interesting podcast episode with her youngest son. He's still around, and he grew up half in Miami, half in the Bay Area.
Oh.
And it's crazy because there's one person that I knew earlier in life who was one of the persons that I knew that was connected in that life, who's no longer around. He mentioned that he had a connection with some Colombian kids, and I think they remember saying the last name was Blanco.
Oh,
and then it was like these kids were selling a lot all over the Bay Area, Oakland, Richmond, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the same ones.
Yeah.
And but anyways, I don't know how we ended up
circle,
here.
huh?
Full circle. And like it's crazy. I mean, I don't want to say names or anything like that, but like there is a lot of like more people than you realize do drugs.
On that note, most recently, I don't know if you guys are at all familiar with the Disney star Demi Lovato. I don't follow her like her music or anything like that, but most recently her whole like story came up again, right? Because she's been sober and she's
since DMX, right? Because she said something about DMX.
Her documentary also came out most recently. It's on YouTube or whatever, and I watched it just because out of curiosity, right? But it goes pretty deep in on how how you were talking about heroin earlier. How people use it to go to sleep, and how definitely it's not the drug to like microdose or like try to do recreationally or whatever. So she was talking about that actually, and most recently she had like 3 strokes and a heart attack during this most recent overdose, and she had been like 6 years sober. And she's like her body has for sure endured a whole bunch of trauma. She's like she went brain dead during the overdose and they brought her back. So it was really nuts. But like just kind of going back to what you said, like anyone and more people than you realize
do drugs. I mean, it wouldn't be $1 million industry if hella people weren't buying them. But and Demi Lovato to be so young and get 3 strokes and
dude, it's crazy. And like that from what I've read, the reason people like get overdoses, especially it's dangerous to quit. Because let's say you quit and you use a certain amount you've been using for years, and you're used to a certain amount at this point more than when you started. Then you quit for a whole year or whatever, or 6 months, and then you feel like, I'm going to take the same amount I did when I quit. And you can't handle that amount at this point, and that's when they like. I don't know. It's weird what they're saying about DMX. I don't know if that was the case with him because he died of an overdose.
Right.
But I've read that he had COVID. And like with all his health problems, it just
cascaded.
It cascaded. But that's like it's crazy because like drugs, that's one way it fucks with your life, and there's the other way where like if you're involved with that shit, everyone around you can be fucked at any moment if you fuck up.
That's scary.
That's one thing about COVID I remember that came out early is the people that had respiratory issues, former smokers, asthmatics, stuff like that, were more vulnerable to passing from getting COVID. And DMX, smoking, been smoking since he was 12 probably. Bless his heart. It's just it's a shame.
It's sad, dude, and it's like a problem that's bigger than a lot of the shit that like the media covers. It's huge. It's like I would say bigger because it's legal too. There's drugs that do the same shit that like meth does. Like if you take Adderall, that is very similar to what the effects of meth are. The people look wired. They look, it's very similar. Look, the other day in San Francisco, I was working. I think I told you guys. I went and saw this apartments. It was like 6 apartments that were taken over. The landlord thought these apartments were being renovated, and they had squatters everywhere in the building, needles. And there's a weird vibe there. Like, it's just, I get it. When you see needles everywhere, it's eerie. A few days after that, I'm walking down San Francisco, like I forgot what street, at Fillmore. And I see a girl, like, passed out. I know she was drugged up, but she was passed out in her car. And, like, I think I saw, like, needles fall out. When her boyfriend came and opened, I got some food. He's all fucked up, too. And that's getting even more, like, it's getting crazier.
You're seeing it more often.
You're seeing it more often, yeah. There's like you know, there's a reason like poppy fields are being protected in the fucking Middle East, and that's not something that's talked about as much as the oil, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And here, you know, the Chapo's gone, oh good, drugs are gone. Like, fuck no, dude. There's always gonna be someone that takes over.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that industry, like, that's not gonna go away, I don't think, in our lifetime or in our kids' lifetime.
Never.
Because even though we don't use the hard shit, we use other stuff that, you know, like, let's say, I forgot what companies, like, they do this drug, but they also do this drug, you know? And it's just like, the abuse of it is not, you know, I'm sure there's stuff I abuse, you know? I'm sure we all have our things we abuse. So it's just not falling into that thing. And like, another like experience I had with it was I lived with someone that was a drug dealer, and he was dealing with like some. I've shared this a little bit, you know, before. I think I shared a little bit with Freeway Ricky Ross, but like it got to the point where I had to leave town for months because of how hot it was. Biggest thing was I was living with someone who was involved with drug dealing. Like big shit, not like little fucking here, like, you know. From what I've heard, he was kind of like a mule, and it got to the point where I had to go and talk to FBI, and that was a thing. In their office, and like me talking to the FBI. I guess this fucking guy kind of told certain of his peers that I was his partner. That's what I heard. That's what got back to me. That it's like, yeah, he's my partner. Like, and then it's like, and he ended up fucking up and falling for an undercover sting that the FBI had been working since fucking Tijuana, bro. And this fucking guy gets caught, and his homies get caught, and his friends, like, you know, well, we heard this is where he lives. And there was like moments where there was like weird cars.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And then I talked to the FBI, and someone told me whoever's like whatever, they saw you were talking to the FBI. So it's like, are you so now there's a possibility they think you're a snitch. And that's a whole other thing.
Damn.
It's like being caught between a rock and a hard place. The FBI is trying to bring you in. And
it wasn't even like they're bringing me in for
snitch.
this and that. This is where I kind of fucked up. The car he was using to transport stuff, when they caught him, the FBI had me pick it up, and then I was seen driving it around. And then that got back to me. Oh, you're driving around, so you went to go talk to... And they say you're his partner, and you're free.
Oh, shit.
And you're riding around in the car that...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Damn, so you just kind of kept digging yourself deeper without even trying.
Because I wasn't involved at all. There was this incidents where he was like, hey, I need to find this address. And like, okay, all right, I'll help you. But I didn't know what the fuck it was, you know, or I don't know where this is going, or, you know, I didn't know that much. I jokingly one time said, I want to get an AK-47, like legally, you know. It's like,
Yeah, right.
Here you go. Like, oh, whoa, easy there.
Holy shit.
All kinds of shit like that, and like, I don't want to get into details of who he was or whatever, but it's just someone I lived with, and yeah, dude, I quit my job because it all happened when like someone it got back to me that someone was looking for. Like, people were asking in different places where I might be.
What?
And other family members might be. Like, hey, do you know where this person is? Like, oh, why are you asking? I'm an old friend he hasn't seen in years, so I wanted to pay him a visit. That kind of stuff. Yeah. And there was an incident too where it wasn't who I, like, you know, where I would be walking the dog and I'd see, it's interesting because there was moments where I would see cars with, like, you know, Latino men who would fit the description of, like, whatever, but I also see cars following of, like, white dudes.
Damn,
so
that's
like,
rare.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, maybe the FBI is, maybe it's them. Who knows? But I just, like, I felt followed, and I don't know if that's paranoia or what the fuck, but I felt followed at that time.
Nah, it has to be your intuition. It
has to be. Yeah, because there was an incident once. I remember this very well. What the fuck is that? I'm over here getting emotional, bro. I'm just kidding. There was an incident where I was walking my dog, and I was gonna walk by this car, and I was walking them, and we're gonna walk right in front of the car, and I heard them talking, and then they just stopped and they looked at me, and then I just turned around like, oh, yeah. I pretended I was getting a phone call. Hello, yeah. Oh, let me come back, because I didn't want to walk in front of it, because I didn't know what was gonna happen, and it was where I lived. There is kind of like a lonely road, so to see certain cars parked, like, this is weird. Interesting. This is interesting. So then I left. I left town, dude. I like disappeared in one night. I was helped by a lot of people, but like
at this point, did you know that people were watching you? Or you just felt like it? I
felt it, and I got like little tips.
But you didn't know what or why. No, you had no idea what the fuck.
I knew it wasn't good when, like, hey, some dude was looking for, such and such, and like. But in
that case, like, it was the FBI, right? That was like.
No, because I had talked to the FBI.
Oh, so it's like other people.
I didn't talk to them about anything. The thing is, I didn't know shit. The FBI just, hey, come pick up his car. I'm like, okay, and then they took my ID for like hella long, maybe an hour, and then they would look at me weird, and they asked me and then I remember this is where it caught me off guard with the FBI. Is I was like, hey, so are we safe? Because I don't know shit, I'm literally a civilian. Hey, are we safe? And then this was the guy's kind of, he said something, he was like, I don't know, are you? Like
that basically says they're wondering if maybe you're suspicious, and you're just wondering, like, am I going to be okay? Not are you going to arrest me, but are you protecting me?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're looking at you like a suspect. That's a shame.
Yeah. And they didn't question me like that, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I guess they just, I don't know, maybe they were going by. And the thing that spooked me at the time was this person that I knew that had experience in this long time ago, who I fell out of touch with, but maybe I also was the best thing for me to do. They're like, sometimes, unfortunately, law enforcement, like that, not law enforcement, like, but that agents, they'll rather have you to add to the list of crimes than to save your life. So it's better if you let's wait and see if something happens to them. Let's watch, Then we can add to the case. He's a drug dealer. He's a murderer. Like, let's get everybody else involved in this shit, and we have a bigger. I was like, I don't know if I would try to be like, I don't believe that, but it's not hard to believe that.
I mean, if you think about it, the more you can have on someone, the harder it is for them to get off. Because it's like,
with a RICO trial, especially, we talked about that before. It's easy, like, let's add on fries and a soda to his fucking Whopper, bro.
Because it's like, okay, so the way sentencing works, they don't add up all of your offenses into one big giant whop. They just try to see what they can nail you for.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like,
especially
if they can't,
that's why they linger.
Mm-hmm. And if your lawyer's good enough to get you off on, like, a drug selling charge, like, my client is in the laundry business. He is not, okay, fine, we couldn't win that. But maybe we'll get him on the murder case. And then maybe we'll get him on the other murder case. Right. Or the 6 other murder cases that we let pile up because one of these has got to stick.
Exactly. And then they're like, if we can get him, let's get him for hella more. And then, I can get promoted or whatever the fuck. And so
so terrible.
I disappeared like one night to the next, and I literally like quit my job and all that shit. Like, too. I was crazy. I also went a little crazy. Which you can, like, it's easy to go crazy during shit
situation
like that.
You're
everybody disappeared with my whole family. But I went solo kind of. And I think I made a joke about this on stage. Like, it was crazy. The first night sleeping away, like, first of all, I couldn't sleep that whole night. Like, I turned off my phone. I disconnected like everything from the world. But I was online on Wi-Fi watching something. I was watching Cartel Decapitations. I was just thinking of, how am I going to go out if these fuckers catch me? And I was like, oh, God. Like, I'll just go for the neck. I don't want to suffer. Don't fuck with my arms. Like, It's just, and then I was looking at, like, self-defense knife videos because all I had was a knife at the time.
Oh, no.
And it was just like, there was this one incident. So that was the first night. I finally slept, and, like, I fucked up because I was like, I'm gonna delete Facebook and all that, but I still had my phone on, and I was watching videos on it, and I fell asleep like this. I was like, oh no, my phone, they can track me. So I just You ever seen Pineapple Express?
Yeah.
When they're like going crazy in the park,
trying to
like,
get rid of the
trying to
phone?
get rid of the phone. I can't see it. Call it. Like that was me. That was me. I went crazy, dog. I was so
I'm so
prepared.
sorry.
So I was like on my phone, and I'm like, oh damn, they're gonna find me. Oh no. Then I'm in the second floor of an apartment. All I hear is a truck pull in downstairs, and then I hear two like Mexican dudes. I could tell the accent, and then one was like, "Tu por allá, yo por acá, que quiero esto pronto," which means you over there, me over there. Let's finish this fast. And I'm like, oh no. And then the dog's barking because there's a dog there, and I'm fucking tripping, bro. I grab the knife. I'm like, I'm gonna stab in the neck, and then like hopefully grab his gun. And then I just hear.
Oh, they're cutting a tree.
They're the fucking gardeners, bro. And it's like the gardener with the weed whackers over here, and then the lawnmowers over there. They're like, you over here, we over there. They're working fast. I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers. And all it was is the lawnmower.
Oh my God.
When you're in fear, that's
No,
scary.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear
So
you.
then I was like, all right, we're gonna relax. And
Get it together.
get it together. Then I went away. I was staying with a cousin who was military at that time. At the time he was military, I was staying with him, and he was great, man. He took care of me like mentally and physically. I felt protected, even though he's a big goof. I remember one night, so he'd leave me at home alone, and he would go out and party. One night he comes home. And he wakes me up in the couch. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, there's two Mexican dudes in the front yard, like parking, parked in front of the house, man. It's like, oh, this is suspicious, bro. Like, when I came home, they looked at me, and I'm like, I almost having a panic because I'm just fucking with you. It's fucked up, man.
Terrible. Such a dick.
Terrible. It was bad. It was.
Getting you in your time of need.
It's funny that laughing at that now, but because at that time,
Shit was not funny.
It was not funny.
I mean, it was
I lost
funny
so much
to him.
weight, dude, because of how
Stressed you were.
Yeah, I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was like ready to.
How long did that last? Like that time period of like not knowing.
A couple of months.
Really?
Yeah. And then, then I was like working, like at the time, because I obviously quit my job. I was working like under being paid cash under the table, like an illegal immigrant. So I wasn't traced for the time. I was working doing landscaping with like legal immigrants. I was pretending I was an illegal immigrant. I was untraced at the time. No one knew where I was.
No one's illegal, JD. Immigrants.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know.
Someone without a green card. Basically.
Yeah, undocumented.
Oh yeah,
Everything was
undocumented.
I was doing cash, everything, and a couple of months kicked in, and after a few months, I kind of heard back. Like, there was this story on the news that the FBI had raided hella homes in Antioch to Richmond. It was a long time ago. I don't know if that's even available anymore, but. And then I heard certain people were in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, but it still was undetermined whether it's safe or not.
Right.
And then I talked to someone. It's like, if anyone's in trouble, it's him. You're a civilian. Like, anyone who would investigate you, because those people have investigators too. It's not just the cops that have investigators.
Right.
Those people have investigators too, and they're not stupid. They know whatever had set plans for them. And if they see what you look at, they're like, it's kind of like, I felt attacked. Look at your fucking car. You think they think you sell drugs? Like, what do you say? My car's fine, you asshole. Like,
I could if I wanted to.
I could if I wanted to. Yeah, exactly.
Totally equipped.
And then, then I was like, I got frustrated. I was like, dude, this sucks. I'd rather get popped and live free. Literally, that was my thought. And my mom agreed. She was like, yeah, because I would talk to her on the phone every once in a while. And I remember calling her crying, like, I hate this, I hate hiding. I would go everywhere, like, suspicious all the time, hiding. Scared, afraid of being seen and all this and that. And then I was just like, I can't live like this. Like, I told her, I'm going to just not hide anymore. And if I die, I know in my heart I didn't do anything wrong. And, like, if I die, fuck it. And she said, honestly, I love you. You're my son. And I wouldn't want any harm to you, but I'd rather see you live short life happy and not like this, So then, yeah, I was like, I came back, and then I like ever since that, I kind of focus on these things that I love more. Because at that point, I was like, I'm gonna die, and it was like, if I'm gonna die, I don't want to fucking, you know.
Right. Now, why do you think they stopped looking for you?
I don't.
Or do you think that they never looked for you in the first place? Is that possible?
I hope they were looking, because then all this was, you know,
a lot of self-caused stress.
Yeah, because you can literally, I mean, I'm not saying I hope they. No, I who knows?
Or maybe they figured out that you really didn't have anything to do with it.
maybe because then that dude was a fucking liar.
Yeah.
So maybe he was just trying to save his ass. But he's still alive. That motherfucker. I loaned him $40 before this shit happened to it. I never got my $40.
You need to get your $40 back. Where you at?
Where you at? Make sure
if you're listening to this episode, JD needs his 40 back.
When they find him, and before you kill him, check his pockets. Send that back to JD. No.
And you know, for those of them listening who might have been on the search for you, at least now they know.
Well, but see, I don't know.
You have nothing to do with it.
But it was just because sometimes when you're in fear, your fucking mind quadruples the fucking whatever, you know? Like, you notice people looking at you, being suspicious. And you know, when you go somewhere and you see someone being suspicious, you look at them a lot more because you're like, oh, what's up with this guy?
Yeah.
And that person thinks, why they're looking at me. So it's like you know, that's how I was going into these restaurants. I'm like carrying a piece and like, who's looking at me? Who's looking at me? And then they're all like, oh God, look at him. And then I'm thinking, all these motherfuckers are involved.
It would be even crazier if like that old friend, the person claiming to be the old friend was an actual old friend, and he's listening right now and he calls you like, JD, that was me. I was going by all your places. I was just, hey man, how you been? It's been like 20 years.
I know. You know what's crazy?
So crazy?
Some of my friends like wanted to start a search party for me.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know what happened to you.
Misguided
beard, bro.
Ironic thing to do. Oh my goodness.
And you know what's funny? You know how I popped up on Jonathan? This is fucked up. But when I came back, I was still kind of uneasy, and I knew where he would go, like eat lunch or whatever. And one day he was sitting in his car, and I just popped in his car. I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh shit!" I like literally opened the door and jumped in.
He left it unlocked. Okay.
If you're listening,
Jonathan, start locking your door now. They know. Damn it.
He has a kid. No, but yeah, coming back, like it took me a while to be like, you know, I was like literally like on defense, and it's stressful to live like that, dude. I feel like I aged a lot in that fucking time.
How long were you gone again?
Not long, but it took me a year. It was like a few months, but it took me like a year. So if you ever want to fuck with me, stuff like that, you know, it takes a few months for me to crack. But it took me like 2 years to feel like okay with being in public. Like my anxiety got worse. I already had fucking anxiety at the time, and then it got worse, you know? And then like I just having people over at my house, that was weird. Like, who's your friend? And I got more uneasy about that too. Like, who's your friend? Like, who's he friends with? Like, that was weird. And now it's just like, whatever happens, happens. But who knows if they were looking? I just don't want to live like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more public than this podcast right here.
Exactly. Well, there's very few listeners. That's why I feel comfortable.
Like, we found him.
We found him. Yeah.
It's like 5 members of the Colombian cartel. Like, we listen every week, and we didn't know it was this plateau. Like,
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, man, that's
nuts.
That's a little thing I've shared with you guys, but never on the podcast. Not like this.
Oh no, definitely not.
And there's, you know, obviously names have to be left out
to protect the innocent. You know, like that Dragnet opening. Dun
Exactly.
dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Anyways,
but no, you just essentially you did the equivalent of like the Iron Man 3, where he's like, "All right, Mandarin, come see me at Malibu Place 3312."
I didn't do that. They fucking did that for me.
No, I mean like in the in the context of this episode.
Oh yeah.
Is you're like, "Hey, I'm here."
Yeah. Well, no, not really, because this is also like, you know, like I say, they know when to move on. Like, oh yeah, this is an innocent dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've been told by, because then eventually I talk to people who are in those circles.
Okay.
They're like, nah, you're good.
You're good.
Like,
You're straight.
They're fucking, if they even know that this thing is operating in this circles, they'll willingly give up that 100,000 and make another 200,000 over here. You know,
Yeah.
they'll avoid that. Like, good, they caught that. Well, they're not gonna catch this.
Damn.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
how it works. And it's like, and if you really didn't have anything to do with it, you don't have anything to worry about. You know, because like I said, that's the person who told me they have investigators too, dog. They know, you know,
What it is.
and who's involved and how much they're involved. And then, you know,
They probably got people on the inside of the FBI too.
somebody. Yeah. And then,
I mean, you've seen The Departed, right?
Yeah, but not even that.
I loved how that worked out.
You can, everything that the FBI could probably do to look up my shit online is available in the darknet, the deep web.
True.
So, like, you know, all it takes is a clever motherfucker to figure those buttons out, and they could find shit on anybody.
They're like, oh, he's a stand-up comedian who likes to cook, and
Yeah.
we got nothing.
It's a loser.
We got nothing.
His life was worse before this.
Oh my god.
The worst you can do is just let him live. That's not true.
No, that's
But yeah,
definitely-
that kind of did help me in a lot of ways. Where, like, you know what? There's worse things than dying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, I think it gave me a sense of like, yeah, you know, like, I appreciate shit more. And I was, so. Because there's way worse things. Being afraid of dying has always been my thing. That's what my anxiety. Oh, I'm gonna have a heart attack or whatever. And that kind of helped me understand, like, nah, there's worse ways to live. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
you know, so,
Well said.
and nothing's happened yet, so
We're good.
we're good. We're good. Subscribe to the Voice Party, guys.
Click that subscription button below.
Yeah. All right. Let's go eat, guys. Thank you guys for listening.
Oh yeah,
Voice
lunchtime's
Party.
coming up. This has been the Voice Party. We about to eat, and we're out.
That's a good story.